Hello everyone, how you doing tonight? Glad to hear, glad to hear. I was really excited when I was invited tonight. I know that all of us can remember back to high school where there were the different cliques in the classes of folks. And I was like, sure, I'll come and talk to these nerds. And then I realized, I'm the nerd. So that was awkward realization. What I want to talk to you guys about is one of the most important pieces of our lives today, and that is the ability for you to realize your life's goal through work. Now, we may all have different perspectives on getting rich, but I think we all recognize that in this great country, everybody should be able to work and at least have a decent quality of life. Well, in our city, like many cities across America, that's not exactly how it flows. And I'll give you a statistic to illustrate what I'm describing. It's a little bit disheartening. Recent research in Jefferson County, Kentucky indicates that the African American community owns businesses at a 2% rate. 20% of the population running businesses in that population at a 2% rate. Amongst the rest of the population, it's not 2, it's not 5, it's not 10, it's 20%. Because the rest of the population understands and is connected to the reality that economic prosperity is a crucial part of our life existence. What I'm here to talk to you about is the opportunity to engage those who maybe have never enjoyed the quality of life that maybe many of you here have enjoyed. My name is Waymen Eddings. It is so weird describing yourself, but apparently I'm dedicated. And I'm dedicated to community advocacy and social entrepreneurship. I'm not just working, I'm actively working on affordable housing issues and economic development. I don't have experience, guys. I have extensive experience in consulting folks. And most of the people I've talked to are media artists, media startups, community organizations. And a lot of the conversation we talk about is marketing, public relations, and coalition building. These are some of the basic principles of business. How do you connect to another person? And how do you offer another person your service? However, without capital, that is very difficult. And I am so honored to tell you that even though the African American community only runs businesses at a 2% rate, we're out here hustling in every neighborhood in our city. Out here trying to make a living, offering services, and doing great work without the capital that a lot of people enjoy when you're connected to the wider economy. So I want to talk to you essentially about impact investing. Now in politics, the buzzword right now is ESG, and that is a manner of impact investing at the highest levels. But obviously, when things get to the highest levels, they get a little distorted, and you know, people nitpick and that sort of thing. And I'm here to tell you that impact investing is simply caring and giving a damn about the people that you do business with, and do business for, and who you're in business with. And obviously, the impact of that is, we used to talk about something called a triple bottom line, that what you were doing was good for people, good for the planet, and good for profits. And that's essentially the model that we are exploring at the highest levels of capital. And I'm here to tell you, if you haven't already begun that journey in your life, you can be a part of that movement. And that your participation in some ways is way more important than the biggest models that are being demonstrated to us related to ESG. And one of the things that I've seen tonight from the various other presenters is that your values matter. You know, we're not just nerds, guys. Don't think you aren't nerds at all, but most of us aren't nerds. We care about the things that we know about, passionate, to the point where we don't care what people think about us caring about it. And then a defining issue with somebody who's intelligent. So the challenge here tonight, guys, is for you to change a little bit once you leave, Some of the things I'm going to tell you, you already know. But if you can implement them in a different way going forward, all the better. So the first warning is, this is not financial advice. I'm not selling you a security, and seeks financial consultation for anything that you're doing with your hard-earned money. But let's talk about the stages of venture investing. Perfect stage begins with seed capital. And what they always used to say at the bottom, at the seed capital level, because you really haven't proven anything, it's got an idea, is that you're going to have to go to your family, you're going to have to go to your friends, and some fools. Okay? But what about in your neighborhood when your family, your friends, and even the fools don't have capital to invest? You know, we live in a very wealthy country, but not everybody benefits from that wealth. But we can change that through our hearts, through our knowledge, and through our money. Once you move past seed stage, you start with it. You start into the startup space. So now you've proven some things. Now people are more easily to invest in you because maybe you have a few customers, maybe you've got a nice storefront. The money starts flowing in. Awesome. The title of this thing talked about venture capital, but venture capital and private equity don't really come in until you get somewhat above the clouds. Once you have removed a lot of the risk from your business and you've gotten kicked in the nuts and stabbed in the throat so many times by your business, that now people can come in, oh, you've taken the wound, so now let me come in and help you to scale up your idea. And so those last kind of dark purple stages, the first stage, expansion stage, and then the bridge stage, that's where the magic happens, right here in the bridge stage. You hear things like unicorns and other large businesses. Essentially, you've removed a lot of the risk of your business, and you can take your model and basically expand it across the river to Indiana, across the nation, into Canada and Mexico, and all over the world. But this path, you never get to this end of the value chain in investing if you don't get the seed capital and you don't get other folks. If you ever watch Shark Tank, they say they don't want to get involved in lifestyle businesses. They don't want to get involved in businesses that depend just on you to exist. And so when you have a community that is just full of lifestyle businesses, just full of mom and pop storefronts, wealth doesn't come back into the community the way it needs to. And so then when we look at our neighborhoods and we look at the lack of assets, we see why a lot of that is the case. So let's kind of get started with this idea. Let me get by a show of hands, and obviously you don't have to raise your hand. Who here has money invested in some form or fashion? Raise your hand. It's remarkable. For most people, their biggest investment is and never will be their home. It's the asset that appreciates. It's the asset that is a part of your everyday life. However, there are other different parts of your portfolio that can be a little bit more transferable, that can grow at a faster rate. And so what we're talking about here is trusting yourself to put part of that to work in our local community with people maybe you've never dealt with before in an open economy. I'm here to tell you there are so many laws or rules that make it advantageous for you to do this on some small level. I'm just going to plant the seed of the idea, but that simple, small idea, and there's some smart people in this room, no one's ever countered me on this scary fact that I just told you about the nature of wealth in the West End. You realize that in the suburban neighborhoods of Louisville and the surrounding metro area, there is more wealth in Louisville, Kentucky metro than there is in the entire nation of African Americans. In one city, more wealth than an entire race of people have. So you have your Oprahs, you have your Michael Jordans, but then it tails off very quickly from there. This nation has a tremendous problem with wealth distribution. We have resolved a lot of the earnings challenges, so the person working next to you more than likely earns the same amount as you if you have similar skills, but that person does not necessarily have the net worth opportunities that you have to live a high quality of life. So not by giving away your wealth, but by encouraging people and offering people the opportunity to participate in the economy, we can change things just in little Louisville, Kentucky. Just with ordinary people like us here, we can change the game now and forever. But you gotta start small. There's a risk involved whenever you put something into an investment. So you can't, when you put your money into an investment, you have to be willing and able to lose it all, right? So some of us go to Derby City, some of us go to Churchill Downs. You know, that's the kind of thing you're doing when you're investing, but when you put your money into a business, the returns are much more likely. And like I said, there's a lot of laws to make it less risky. Do your research. I've heard several people say, I don't invest in things I don't know. And that's probably the best advice, right? But then take the time to research and learn about the opportunities that perhaps you can invest in. And then obviously seek consultation. Make sure you talk to your advisors. Do this every day. They're gonna laugh at some of the principles we're talking about here tonight, but push back a little bit. It is your money. They have a fiduciary responsibility to you to give you advice. Challenge them a little bit. And I'm gonna tell you how you can do it. So there are certain so-called ESG funds. I told you at the highest level, some of these largest investment organizations have created funds that have a measure to make sure that the companies you're investing in on a global scale are taking care of ordinary people in the environment, in social circles, in their policies, and in the governance of their organization, that they have equity, inclusion, and that sort of principles in their operation of their business. Consider local initiatives. I'm going to share one with you later, but there are several opportunities here in this local community of angel networks and small investor clubs, and there's a real estate investment club that meets, there's several of them actually. And then one of the most unique ways to do it is what's called a donor advised fund, either with a large foundation like the Community Foundation, or as it continues to go, your traditional investment company will allow you to have an IRA, for example, that allows you to direct where that money gets invested to some extent. Again, seek consultation and start small. So then what you are going to want to do, and they're probably not going to be able to help you very well with this, so this is something that you're really doing yourself. What type of impact do you want to have? What are you passionate about? What do you know to be true as an important issue to invest behind? And when you sit at your kitchen table, you're watching to see, is my investment making the world a better place in the way that I want to see it make better place. And then obviously your returns. I'm not asking, again, for people, this is not charity. This is investment we're talking about. So ultimately, you deserve and you are entitled, and it would be a blessing for everybody for you to get your money back plus a healthy return so that you can go back in again, so that people can see you doing it and enjoy the fun. Case study or success story or managed story. I'm the vice president of the Louisville Community Grocery. And the idea behind this institution locally is it's supposed to be a cooperative of local folks who have come together to own the grocery store. Currently 600 strong. If you've seen the news stories of the last few months, forget the news stories of the last few months, but the principle is sound, that we can change our environment through cooperative economics. It doesn't have to be charity. It can just be good business to do that. And so 600 people have come together with a $150 buy-in, and the word's still out about whether it can be a successful business, but that is an example, one small example of how we can make this place a better place with our capital. It's got to be patient. The people who were involved in the local community grocery, some of them put their money up 7 years ago, and there hasn't been a grocery store. There have been different projects and expressions of food to try to address food insecurity and healthy food. It takes time. Education and learning. Don't just listen to the dude who just had a shot and an IPA. I don't even know what IPA is, so I did some learning on that. But so continue to educate yourself, because there are a lot of factors involved here, tax implications, all of that. But I wanted to talk about 3 different platforms that in a very professional, organized way, if you don't want to go money in hand and walk into the inner city and say, hey guys, who wants an investment? Which I'm encouraging you not to do. Do not do that. That's not how you do this. So three platforms that I can encourage you to consider. Kiva. Kiva is an international organization that has taken ordinary people's money, puts it together, and put out micro loans. But then you track the return on those loans. Hopefully you get your money back, and hopefully then you reinvest. And the process continues. WheatFunder. It's a regional company based out of Cincinnati that has a remarkable relationship in Louisville, that if you can find a company that can place itself on WheatFunder, there's currently a policy where if that company can raise $25,000, a local venture firm will match it $25,000, and bam, now you got $50,000 to launch a nice business. This is the type of thing that's available. That we're not often using them. We need to use more. One of the older platforms, AngelList, which is more traditionally a seed and angel investing platform that'll show you investment opportunities, show you some of the models of that company. And so AngelList is one of the older members of, during the Obama administration, they created what was called the Jobs Act, which made it legal to do crowdfunding, but for private businesses. And, you know, without getting into the weeds, normally when you say, okay, I'm gonna go and raise money for folks, you gotta register it, and there's securities laws, and you've gotta do a little song and dance for the government every once in a while. But a lot of that, it's with Reg D rules, we've now made it, because they don't want big companies defrauding large groups of uninformed consumers. That was the whole idea. But now with the power of the internet, they've empowered small companies to use the power of people to raise money, recognizing that that's the best way we need to go going forward. The people have to help themselves. So again, my name is Waymen Eddings. You can visit me at waymeneddings.com. This thing, this ink blot apparently takes you to my website. QR code, they say. So IPA, QR code, I'm gonna look into it. I have a charity called Capitalism Community Development, IT consultancy called Dipole Data. And this is Nerd Night, guys. One other thing though, this code switching presentation before, you mentioned getting that bread. I was at a code switch, that was another story. If anybody could walk me to my car, I was a little intimidated by that code switch that you did there. That was gangster. Thank you, Rick, for guys for listening, and let's have a little conversation real quick.
Give it up for Waymen. All right, questions. Do we all have questions? Yes.
It's what full of growing investing, so that found my head in city local and same league.
Great question. She's asking for advice, but remember the disclaimer in the beginning, you know, seek counsel somewhere else. So what's your thoughts on where you find local things to invest in?
That's a perfect question, really. And I think that when you look at team, once the team has been chosen, that's more than half of the game. So if the team's not here, that's a first indicator if they live somewhere else. Also with those platforms I described, they do some of the work for you to get people to lay out the details of their business plan. They do some of the work to make sure they're credible people. So in checking references, I mean, that's one of the great things about this local move that I'm describing. A lot of folks have a talent, but they may not be great business people, right? So if it may be your investment that convinces them that they need to open up their process to invite folks into their team who have expertise maybe they don't have. So not only in these cases I'm describing, should you look into who they are, you can impact the nature of who they are by giving them advice. It only benefits your investment.
More questions.
Well, it's like wondering, I say, because the right rule, I wish we should have book was
is the rate global equivalent to other major U.S. cities? And if not, which cities are like really ahead? And then what are some of the things they're doing going to be here or not being done here?
If you've never been to Nerd Night before, I'm gonna talk a little bit about myself before I get to that. So don't make really long statements when it's time to ask questions because it gets so difficult for me. For the people that have been here, that have seen me go through this before, it's like, what? That was a 3-part question. The first part is did you say the rate? Is the rate difficult?
Well, yeah, you said it was 2%, so like that's equivalent to other U.S. cities, or other U.S. cities ahead of us or behind us.
So are others U.S. cities ahead of us or behind us when it comes to the rate for investing?
I'm going to broach a difficult reality with you right now, that I may need somebody to walk me to my car after I say this. But the numbers get skewed a bit, right? So the composition of the African American community in Louisville will be quite different than that same population of folks in New York City, an international city, where people's skin color is one. People's skin color is one-dimensional everywhere, but particularly with economics, there are some international cities that have capital flowing in from, let me say, home countries. So I'm going to say some of the coastal cities, the economy very different than some of the Midwestern and the West Coast cities. I think that's a great question, though, and I'd love to dive into that. My perception is that places like Atlanta, places like Los Angeles, where leaders have fought hard in Chicago, have fought hard to win, have a different economic map. Folks doing good, it spreads. And so that would be my answer. And somebody's Googling it right now, and so that's the benefit of Nerd Night. You might want to ask Ryan.
What are the other 2 parts of the question?
I'm sorry for that.
And that's exactly what I go through up here. It's like somebody will ask a question, but then tell a story and ask another question. It's like, damn it, what? Any other questions? No other questions? Thank you all for coming out to Nerd Night. As I've mentioned before,